always like to see a mix of young people, middle-aged people, older, you know, this is what I really pride myself on.
And then you just play whatever you think feels right.
Always whatever I feel.
You made a point of saying earlier it's not scripted, but at what point in the, I'm just curious about the process here. So at what point do you think to yourself, I'm going to play this song, and then I'm going to play that song, or is it much more literally of the moment?
Well, I try to get the first song that we play, I try to have that. By the time I come out of my dressing room, going to the stage, I've decided what the first number will be. Mm-hmm. After that, then it depends on how that goes and the vibrations and everything.
After all the years of recording and all the songs that you've performed, is there one song that you think, you know, all other things equal, I'd like to play this as often as possible when I'm performing?
No, because I like music. I like so many kinds of music, so many kinds of songs, which, you know, I've done a lot of varied
huge
stuff.
Range of stuff, yeah.
So, no, there's no particular songs. I like to feel that any song that I've chosen, I should be able to take it to a real, my level of what I want to do with it, you know.
Right.
See, and once I can do that, the people will respond, because I'm sort of the first one to figure what's good. If I like it, the people will like it.
Right. It's like you're your own focus group.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's pretty good. I want to ask you about change, because your career has been so long. We said I know from reading that your mother bought you your first alto saxophone at age 9. So, you know, almost 70 years ago. You've been doing this at various levels for so long, but surely the world that you live in has changed in all that time. How has being in the music business changed? You mentioned technology and the differences that technology has brought. Can you talk a little bit about how things have changed?
Well, in my particular lifetime, when we started out and I began playing, it was a different scene. We played small clubs, dances, primarily dances.
Right.
And then as the bebop movement, the serious jazz movement came along, in fact, I was talking about this not too long ago. We used to play what they would call a dance. There would be people dancing in the back of the auditorium. Around the stage, there'd be guys listening to the music,
right,
and appreciating the music and getting off on, you know, all of the stuff guys are doing. And that was sort of when it began to change, and the people that appreciated jazz, maybe like in a concert sense, began to come into ascendance.
Mm-hmm. And the technology piece I'm curious about. I mean, obviously people now can download your music. They can buy it, listen to it on an iPod. We mentioned satellite radio. There are different ways that your music is distributed. So from that side of it, probably there's a difference. But to the extent that you make music, technology is not impacting how you make music today.
No, not me, no. But I mean, that's just me. Some musicians are using technology to produce their music.
Yep.
I don't do that because I'm just, you know, I'm too lazy to get into all that technology stuff. So
better to be pure about it anyway, right?
I think so, you know. But I mean, that's my excuse. But
it's a pretty good excuse, I think.
Right. I just got a cell phone about 6 months ago.
They're good, aren't they?
Well, I got it because my car was kind of messing up, so I thought I'd better get it in case I broke down someplace, you know. So
whatever it takes, right? Can we talk about growing up in Harlem?
Sure.
You grew up within a short distance of the Savoy Ballroom, the Apollo Theater, the Abyssinian Baptist Church. You grew up really at the epicenter of the genesis of all this music. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to ask you to say something short about it, but what was it like, really, to live in a world that most of us have only really read about and admired from a distance?
Oh, no, it was great. It was great. It was great. I mean, I used to walk, coming from school, I'd pass by the Savoy Ballroom. The Cotton Club was still standing, I think. And it was still going on. The whole myriad of small jazz clubs would be all over Harlem. Right. You know,
and all the great players, right? You would also be passed by in the street, right? You would have reason to just see some of the great names
Well,
of
we
that period?
moved up to Sugar Hill, which is sort of the upper crust of the black population in Harlem at that time.
Right.
We weren't upper crust, but we moved up into a little smaller, you know, tenement instead of a big house. But anyway, we moved on the hill, and on the hill I'd see all these people.
Right.
Duke Ellington lived on the block. Further up on the block, a lot of the black leaders of the day, W.E.B. Du Bois and Thurgood Marshall, all these guys lived right near me, you know. And the musicians, Coleman Hawkins, all the great people that I looked up to,
right there.
we could see them, you know, going to work and guys getting in their cars and going downtown to work and all this stuff.
As a kid, it has to be just really great and inspiring.
Yeah.
I know that Coleman Hawkins plays a big part in your early development as a musician. He influenced you pretty significantly, didn't he?
Yeah, he was my idol.
And he's why you took up the saxophone?
No, he's not why I took it up. I just liked the saxophone. I don't know. I had an uncle and I had a family friend that played saxophone. And I just liked that instrument. And I would hear a lot of music around the house, you know. I would hear broadcasts from the Apollo Theater. They'd have the bands on. And I just got to like the sound of the saxophone. And I was a big devotee of Louis Jordan, you know, who had what they would call a rhythm and blues man. But he was really the guy that I liked. And so I was going to school. This is a long story, but I was going to elementary school. Right across the street from my school was a club where Louis Jordan was playing. And so I'd, you know, come out of school going home, and there was this picture of Louis Jordan, you know, with his tails and white tie and, you know, this great, beautiful horn, you know, all shiny, you know. So I'd see that, and I said, wow, I want to be a musician, you know. So I want to be a saxophone player, you know.
Yeah.
So it all sort of came in together, you know, and then I had some records by him and so on and so forth. So I kind of got that set when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I realized that was going to be what I wanted to be.
You switched from alto to tenor at a certain point?
That was because of Coleman Hawkins.
Specifically because of Coleman Hawkins, right?
Right. When I heard Coleman Hawkins and I realized that there was well, I shouldn't say intellectual, but Coleman Hawkins, it was so much music that I mean, Louis Jordan was great. He's very earthy and gutty, and he was wonderful. But Coleman Hawkins was playing so much music. I mean, there was so much high quality.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I said, wow, I want to get this. You know, I want to try to learn how to play like this.
And so move over to tenor, so that would make it more like
because he played tenor, you know.
Is it true that before age 20 you had worked with or recorded with Miles Davis and Bud Powell, Jackie McLean, and Kenny Drew, some of the great names, all before age 20?
Probably so, yeah.
It seems remarkable to me. It doesn't feel remarkable to you. How did it happen that you got to play with those guys?
Well, it happened because of where I lived. We lived uptown, so we were school kids. We had our own little bands, you know. And so the older guys like Babs Gonzalez and Shadow Wilson, a lot of those guys, the word got out that, hey, there's these bunch of young kids that are really good, you know.
Right.
So they began to hire us. And
as teenagers.
As teenagers, to, you know, join their groups. And Kenny Drew was the first guy. He began playing down on 52nd Street. And other people, Arthur Taylor, a lot of guys. So eventually they recruited us into their, you know, into the big time.
Right. Now, over time, like I said, so many people we could talk about who you play with. I want to ask about Coltrane, because there seems to be a different view, depending upon who you talk to, of your relationship with Coltrane. Some people say they were great friends, they admired one another. Other people say they were rivals. There's a theory that I think you reject, that the reason you took your famous sabbatical in '59 and played on the Williamsburg Bridge was because you were a little freaked out by how Coltrane was coming on, and you thought, I'm just going to stand aside. Can you set the record straight on you and Coltrane, please?
Okay, most of that, I would say all of the above is true. The only thing is that going to the bridge, that part, because of Coltrane and Ornette Coleman, that's not true. I've always been a guy that practices a lot, and you know, that's always been my part of my life. So
right.
no, I didn't. I went on the bridge just because I wanted to kind of get myself a little bit better situated. I had been working with Elvin Jones and another guy that we used to go around on jobs. And one night we had a job in Baltimore, and a lot of people were there to see us. I was beginning to have a big name, so Sonny Rollins was, you know, and all these jazz fans would come to see me. And that night I really was not able to play to reach, you know, to really satisfy the people. And that really preyed on my mind. So I said, I'm going to stop for a while, go and practice, go in the woodshed, what you know, the vernacular, and get myself together. So that was the genesis of the bridge.
Right.
All the other stuff about Coltrane, yeah, we were very close friends, very close friends. People would consider us rivals, of course, because there's a history of rivalry, you know, with jazz players. You know, right. They had Coleman Hawkins and Lester Young. They had Dexter Gordon and Gene Ammons. So there's always this rivalry between the up-and-coming, you know, stars on the instrument.
Yeah.
So that's true, but we also were very close friends, you know.
Right. Well, that's a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end here. I want to say there's much more we could talk about, but it's obviously a remarkable career, and it's just an honor to get the chance to hear you tell old stories. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I hope you come back to Austin again, and if you do, maybe we'll have a chance to sit down and talk some more.
I'd like to do it.
Okay. Very good. Sonny Rollins, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.